Today on Screen It or Stream It.
I can't do it anymore. I'm so tired of staring at these four walls. I need to get outside.
Do you crave action? Do you crave adventure? Just stay inside.
Uh-huh. That's right. Today we are doing our top picks, swashbuckling adventures for quarantine to get your mind off of things and get you some, just out and about feeling while you're, trapped at home. So what do you have for a swashbuckling adventure?
Well, so I had a little trouble with the list because I was trying to come up with feel-good action-adventure movies. There's definitely some action-adventure movies that I love that are not, feel-good movies. But I wanted something that makes you happy, that you're in this time of kind of stuck inside. In fact, it's raining right now as we film this, so you can't even go outside. So, and I'm going to cheat a little bit because before I do my number 5, there's a whole bunch of movies that didn't make my list because, well, they were number 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. So before I actually give my list, I just want to kind of give a general recommendation. If you're stuck inside, there's nothing to do, go back and watch an old movie. So many people, especially of younger generations, don't watch. Find a black and white movie and just give it a try. If you want some specifics, the original The Adventures of Robin Hood from 1938 with Errol Flynn is the best Robin Hood version ever, in my opinion. Errol Flynn might be my favorite movie star of all time. It's nothing special as far as the story of Robin Hood. Everybody knows the story, but it's just done so well. There's something beautiful and magical about these black and white movies, this golden era of old Hollywood. And I know Amazon Prime is really good for this. You can just scroll through and you're like, oh, there's a black and white movie. Find a Western, find an adventure. Or Hulu used to be, I'm not sure anymore because they had the Criterion Collection. They used to have a whole bunch of old movies, but I know Amazon Prime, Netflix, not so much because Netflix only puts out, seems like their own content now. But yeah, if you can find old classic movies, give them a try. What have you got to lose? And you may find something really great. I'll be kind of surprised if Josh doesn't have a ancient movie on his list. You will see because also I'm picking movies that are supposed to be feel good. My feel good apparently comes from nostalgia because mine's a very nostalgia-y list. For my number 5, I'm going to pick a movie that is from a series of movies, and I'm going to pick one that I don't know necessarily is everyone else's favorite, but is easily my favorite movie in the series, and that's Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. If you want action, if you want venture, you want scenery, you can't beat an Indiana Jones movie, especially if you ignore the, later offerings. But I know this isn't, Raiders of the All-Star, Temple of Doom, all that came before. But just for feel good and a fun time, I don't think you can beat this movie. It doesn't hurt that Sean Connery plays his dad and does a great job of it. But you got Nazis and you've got fighting and you've got adventure and caves and mythology and it's great. And it's so much fun. And it's from, I think it's the late 80s. It's either 89 or 90, so it's late 80s, early 90s. And you'll kind of notice as we go through that a lot of my list seems to live in the 80s era. There's not all of them, but there's some of them. If you've never seen any of the Indiana Jones movies, or if you've only seen the later movies because they just came out, go back and give them a try. I enjoy all of them, actually. Raiders is a lot of fun. Temple of Doom is a lot of fun. Temple of Doom and The Last Crusade I actually had on VHS growing up. So I watched those two over and over and over again. So they do have a nostalgia and a special place in my heart. But I just like this one so much better.
Yeah, I think we wore out our VHS copies of the Indiana Jones movies when I was a kid, and that was actually my number 3. So you already got me right out of the gate. But hey, that means I get to make a different recommendation. So
were you going to pick a specific movie, or were you just going with Indiana Jones in general?
I was going to push the original trilogy, and not the later things, because I never really got into the young Indiana Jones Chronicles Crystal Skull's okay. It's just, I don't know, there's a certain level of whimsy they had back in the first ones that just, it didn't feel right anymore. And I don't know how to quantify that. It wasn't the same.
There's a warmth and a magic to it that seems
that just wasn't quite.
It was missing.
Yeah. So anyway, that actually gives me another choice here. So for my number 5, I am going to go, and a lot of mine, like yours, most of them are from the 80s. So I'm going to go with my number 5 is Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which I had forgotten about this movie. I don't know how, because it is Rick Moranis at his heyday. It is just a great movie. And it is totally absurd. Just the premise is totally absurd. And the title tells it all. The guy is a genius crackpot inventor, and he invents this machine to shrink things. I don't even remember what the application was supposed to be with that, but they wanted some government grant or something. I don't remember. But anyway, he accidentally got it to work and had no idea, and then accidentally shrunk the kids. And in a fit of rage, smashed his own machine and swept the kids up and threw them out with the trash, because they were, about that tall, they were itty bitty.
And they rode ants, They
rode ants, yeah. So the rest of the movie is an adventure of the kids trying to make their way across the backyard to get back into the house and get restored to their normal size. And you've got the inventor's 2 kids, and then the neighbor kids, who, of course, you've got the boy who likes the girl and that whole situation. But it's just got a little of everything, and it is wildly fun. And it's also in the heavy CGI era. So there is so much practical effects that are just really fun to look at. They built this entire oversized backyard. So you've got giant blades of grass and the ants and a scorpion and all kind of, it's a fun adventure. So
there's a whole bunch of movies, and I'm not going to say any because they may be on your list and I don't want to take them away from you, but right around that era of kind of family-friendly, family-based adventure stuff. And they're all good, and again, maybe nostalgia. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was so unique, though, because, they were teeny tiny, and that traveling through, I believe it was the front yard, to go from the garbage pile at the curb to the front door, and this amazing world they created of, giant blades of grass and giant insects and everything. I remember thinking as a kid watching that would be such a cool theme park to go play in the giant front yard. My number 4 is sadly probably is actually nostalgia now, but I don't consider it nostalgia because it's from 2003, and that's Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl. And I love this movie. So I'm a pirate guy, and when I mentioned the old black and white movies, if you can find any of the old black and white pirate movies, Captain Blood, things like that, they're magnificent. I love all of them. I love pirate movies in general. But this one had such charm. Johnny Depp probably at his best, be doing what he does. Keira Knightley, Orlando Bloom, them doing great jobs with acting, but also a really neat story. It was a good story. I thought I enjoyed it a lot. And the thing is, I remember when Pirates of the Caribbean came out, and no one would go to the theater and watch it with me. I went by myself because everyone, well, first of all, it's a pirate movie, and that wasn't a thing anymore when this came out. That died off in 60s, 70s, something like that. Really, the swashbuckling pirate movie. And it was Disney. And this is pre-Disney owning and running everything. So people were like, you're going to go watch a kid's movie about, based on a ride from the park. And I don't know. It was, I struggled to get anybody to go see it. I went by myself, enjoyed this greatly. And it's just so much fun. Such a great adventure. Again, great effects, especially for the time being. It's great. Just love every minute of it. The sequels, some of them are better than others, but the first one still is amazing. Also, the first movie I ever saw in HD, by the way.
They are all a lot of fun, definitely. But yeah, that first one has a quality of charm that you just don't see very often. And it was below the number 5 on my list, but it was on there. I did forget to mention that Honey, I Shrunk the Kids also had a few sequels. I mean, they're okay if you just have nothing to do, but the first one was really where the magic was. All right, my number 4, I'm actually going with a Hallmark miniseries. Now, I know what you're thinking. They're not all bad. Most of them, they're kind of, I'm going with The 10th Kingdom because it is about a 7.5 hour long, just ridiculously fun adventure. And so basically, I'm going to try to say how this concisely. You've got a building janitor and his daughter, and she's a waitress, and they're just kind of dead end New York, nothing happening for them, and they've accepted their roles in life. Meanwhile, in a magical kingdom, there is the Wicked Witch, like the stereotypical stepmother Wicked Witch escapes, turns the prince into a dog, and is trying to overthrow the kingdom. And he falls through a magic mirror into New York, gets run over by the waitress on her bicycle. Of course, he's okay because, it's lighthearted. It's lighthearted adventure. And she doesn't realize he's a prince. And, well, shenanigans ensue when trolls and a half-wolf are sent to go retrieve the prince in New York. So it ends up being this huge adventure, and the janitor and his daughter have to help save the kingdom. And it's ridiculous and fun, and in some ways kind of walks that really being awful and being wonderful because it's awful, but it's just fun. It's just a fun story. And you get there comes points where so many things go wrong that you just like, okay, now what's wrong? Which way are we going and how far is it? Because we're in for the long haul. But it's just great fun. And it plays on a lot of the old like the nursery rhymes. So you've got like the Mother Goose tales kind of redone as if that was actual history in this place, and then it goes from there.
Well, so the 10 kingdoms are different, like stories, fairy tale, like lands that they're traveling through. It's also very star-studded. Like there's a lot of really good, I want to say famous, but there was a lot of like TV actors and stuff in it. Like Ed O'Neill was the Goblin King, or King. I forget what his actual title was, but
Relish the Goblin King.
This is my most Goblin King. This is easily my most loaned out DVD set like ever. This is one of those where you'd see somebody like, you've never seen this, just take this and watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is fun. Oh, Rutger Hauer is probably the biggest name and I love his character too. He's the huntsman, and he's hunting down the good guys, and he's just evil and totally accepts this, and he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna kill everybody in my way, it's fine. And it's just great.
My number 3, also very star-studded, and this is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. The only reason it's number 3 is simply because if I was going for that feel-good, thing, I just didn't think it had as much as the ones above it. But that's The Goonies. Steven Spielberg, you got, a great cast: Sean Astin, Josh Brolin, Corey Feldman, Martha Plimpton, Cary Green. Like, again, it's an 80s movie, so you got all these like quintessential 80s and 90s actors when they're little kids, and it's like infinitely quotable. Hey, you guys. It has hilarious moments. So it's an action adventure. It's Spielberg when Spielberg was Spielberg in his Spielbergiest, and it's just hilarious and action-packed and fun. And especially if you're a kid, like I would have loved to have had an adventure like this. And it is one of those nostalgia things. Again, it is funny going back now and watching it and realizing there's a lot of stuff that couldn't happen. Like the kids just get on their bikes and, ride to the other side of town and go exploring. And I'm like, yeah, we wouldn't let them do that anymore. But I don't know. I could literally go through each scene and tell you why it's great and why everything is good. But just watch it. It's one of those everyone should have seen at this point. It just makes me happy.
Absolutely. I was very late coming to watch that one. Unfortunately, I don't know. We just didn't have it growing up. Not sure why, but I did see it later. And so sadly, I missed the nostalgia because I can tell it would be much better with that. But it's fun anyway. So definitely give it a try. If you haven't seen it, you need to. It's like one of those big ones. It's like not having seen Rudy. Come on. Where have you been? Find this movie and watch it. Rudy is a feel-good movie, actually. But anyway, do you have anything else on the Goonies?
No.
Okay. All right, my number 3, I am going with Back to the Future. Any of them, all of them. Just normally I don't go for time travel things in general. Just it depends on what it is. But Back to the Future, I am there because it's fun and it's kind of doing everything you can do with a time travel thing, or what about this and then this, and they just have a lot of fun with it. But it is the story, the first one, I'll just give you a little quick synopsis if you haven't heard of it before somehow. It's the story of Marty McFly, who is just kind of an average high school student and picked on. He's not one of the like jocks or whatever, so he gets picked on. And he has this friend who is a mad scientist who invents a time machine randomly one day. And anyway, apparently the scientist had some dubious dealings with some people to get plutonium to power the time machine. And so ends up, I don't know who these terrorists were that showed up, but they showed up and just started shooting machine guns at a mall parking lot. Anyway, Marty McFly escapes in the time machine. Iranian. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I knew they were like supposed to be terrorists of some kind. I didn't remember where they were from. He escapes in the time machine by accident and finds himself in 1955, where he had started in 1985. So the whole rest of the story, he then, of course, immediately by dumb luck, accidentally prevents his parents from meeting. So then the whole rest of his mission there, his objective is to try to make sure his parents fall in love like they're supposed to so he will exist. And it's just a good time, and plus it's got that 1950s vibe for most of it, and when it doesn't, it's got the 80s vibe. So you've got like 2 sets of nostalgia right there, and it's just, they had fun with it. So it's whimsical, again, Spielberg when Spielberg was being Spielberg, and it's just a lot of fun. So Back to the Future, definitely watch those in order because they are like direct linear sequels of each other. You can't just pick up the middle one. It wouldn't make sense.
So I didn't have this one on my list, but not because I don't like it. I love Back to the Future, all of them. One of the few like movie series that I saw every single one of them in theaters and watched hundreds of times. I have Back to the Future Legos and Hot Wheels, and like I have the whole thing. The only reason it just didn't scream action adventure to me when I was thinking more fantasy and running through the woods and things like that. My number 2, and you'll have to forgive me. Remember, this is not my list of best movies. It's the feel-good ones. My number 2 is Eric the Viking from these, again, late 80s, early 90s. And Tim Robbins plays Eric, who is a Viking. And it's in the age of Ragnarok. Everything is frozen. And it's kind of this characterization of Viking life and culture, and the Vikings are like, hey, kill, plunder, yay, woo. And again, it's very lighthearted and very funny, and it's very like Monty Python-esque. In fact, a few of the Monty Python guys actually show up in it. But through the whole thing, Eric is not very Viking-y. He's like, well, can't we just be friends? Like, why do we have to kill people? Couldn't we just ask them to leave? And no one else gets it. They're like, I don't understand what's going on here. And the whole point of the movie is he's trying to go to Asgard to get them to Fenrir, the White Wolf, run out of the skies so that the age of Ragnarok will end and they don't have to be killing everybody. And is this like epic adventure where they go from all these like mythological places, the sinking island, and they get attacked by the dragon on the water. And I think one of the best things from the movie is the priest. So there's a Christian, I'm sure he's probably supposed to be Catholic or Church of England or something. I don't remember exactly what he's supposed to be, but he's definitely priestish, monkish. And he goes with them on this adventure, but he doesn't believe in anything. And because he doesn't believe, he doesn't see. So they're going through all these great dangers and perils, and no one, or everyone is like, "Oh my God!" And he's like, "What? I don't see nothing." And it's silly and it's over the top. The argument on the boat about the we got all the mustaches on one side and beards on the other. It is just ridiculously silly, totally funny. I actually saw this the very first time when I was at home quarantined because I had chickenpox. So I can validate and verify this is a good quarantine movie. I got chickenpox over Christmas break when I was in elementary school and had nothing to do and was stuck at home and everybody was at work. And I watched this probably 2 or 3 times when I first got it, and many, many, many more times after. It is just hilarious and fun. Lots of action, lots of silliness. He at some point gets the cloth, it's no bigger than a towel that makes him invisible, but it only makes him invisible to one person. And so he does all these great daring deeds, but doesn't realize everyone can see him doing them. And so he all of a sudden becomes really brave and then nearly throws up when he finds out that, he can do this. Everybody saw him do it. And of course, they all thought he was a madman and were scared of him, but I don't know, it's hilarious. Just every second of it is fun and funny. Mickey Rooney plays his dad. There's all these, especially if again, it's an older movie, but you'll start seeing, John Cleese and you'll recognize a lot of these people as they start going through the movie. But I cannot recommend it enough. I just love this movie.
Yeah, I don't remember when I first saw that one because I was so little, but yeah, that should have been on my list because that is hilarious. Well placed. We got about 4-ish minutes left, so quickly, my number 2 is Willow, also from the mid-'80s. Of course, this was George Lucas, and I think it was Ron Howard's first director debut, actually. But it's got Val Kilmer and, of course, Warwick Davis, who is your go-to short person if you need one of those. And it is the story in this fantasy land of this evil Bavmorda, the evil witch queen who is ruling, and there's a prophecy that a child will come and end her evil reign. And so the child is found, like in the first scene, and then the midwife steals her away to protect her from being killed. And the baby ends up sent down the river because these dogs come and gonna kill the midwife. It starts a little dark, it does, but it gets fun after that. And of course, you've got the greatest swordsman who ever lived and an unlikely hero in the Nelwyn, the race of short people that come to save the day. And there's a lot of magic and adventure, and we gotta pick up speed. So go for your number 1.
That's very good. My number 1, The Princess Bride. If you're talking adventure and fantasy, this is it. This might be my favorite movie of all time. It wasn't when it started, but I enjoyed it a lot. But just staying power, it's still, every time you watch it, just unbelievably good. Beautiful acting, beautiful characterization, an amazing fantasy story that they do all the fantasy stuff without it feeling tropish, without it feeling like, oh, here's this again. It's a great story, great writing, great acting. Again, lots of famous people. Lots of bit part roles and stuff. Andre the Giant's amazing in it. Carrie Elwes was born to play Wesley Dread Pirate Roberts. Again, infinitely quotable. You have seen a Princess Bride quote somewhere, whether you knew it or not. Just can't beat it.
Which is hilarious because that was my number 1 pick as well. So we were totally synchronized on that. But since you got that one, I'm going to push Stardust for my number 1 pick. Along the same lines as The Princess Bride, but not quite as good. Fantasy adventure. Feel. Very similar feel. And both of those and even Pirates of the Caribbean have that quality of charm we mentioned earlier that just most movies do not have, and it's rare to find. Stardust is the story of this boy named Tristan who is trying to find his purpose in life, and he's decided he wants this girl who, gosh, she is useless. Man, she's awful. But he tries to impress her by going to retrieve a shooting star that he saw fall across the wall. Turns out the wall is this magical portal to another land, and it's a magical kingdom, because why not? Just go with it, it's fun. Anyway, he finds the star by this magical traveling candle because it turned out Tristan's mom was from that other land. And so he had these effects that she had left for him when he came of age to find. And so that starts this adventure. So he finds the star. Turns out it's a very lovely young lady. I think it was Claire Danes played her. Anyway, also star-studded cast. You had Robert De Niro playing a pirate. We have lots of pirates in these. Like, is there something just whimsical about pirates? So
even my shows that aren't about pirates have pirates.
Right. And the pirates in this one were funny because they were lightning collectors. So they had this airship and were collecting lightning, and I don't know. But of course, then there's the evil witches who want to get the star and cut out her heart because it's full of magical power, and then they can live forever. And so the chase is on, and you throw into that a contentious line of succession for this kingdom. So all the brothers, the heirs apparent, are fighting amongst each other, literally like killing each other off in hilarious ways. Like, it's like, you should have seen that coming. But it's just got a whimsy and it's fun. And man, this was a fun list. We'll have to do another one, but that's all our time for today. Thank you so much for watching Screen It or Stream It.
And remember, don't take your kids to the movies on Tuesday nights because that's when we used to go.